Well, it is high time that we took on Webinar Wednesday a look at Descript, and I have been slow off the mark with this tool because it's taken me a while to get my head around it. Descript is a video editing tool, and audio editing as well, but it's text-based editing, allowing us to edit video or dynamic media, video and audio, as though it was a word processing document, and we actually edit the actual text, which then reflects back in the media. It's a concept which is brilliant, but it's different. I think why it took me a little while to get my head around what Descript is and how to use Descript is all the things that it's not. When I first looked at it, I thought, oh, it's like maybe a Camtasia or a Adobe Premiere, a video editing package, but it's not. Maybe it's more like a Hindenburg, a audio and podcast editing and an audio editing application, but it's not. It's its own tool, and we have to look at it in its own uniqueness and recognize that I won't say it's a completely different class of tool because it's a media editing tool, but how it approaches it and how we approach it is completely different. And what it will do is it will give us new ways to do the things that we've always done before. And I think it'll open the doors to better ways to do it, and maybe even some new products that we haven't been able to create, some new content that we haven't been able to create easily in the past. So let's jump into it. This is the dashboard of Descript. I've got the pro version. You can do almost everything that I'm going to show you right now. You can do in the free version if you want to test it out. But I do have the pro version here. Now it's based on different projects. You start out just by creating a new project. So it can be a video, an audio, a quick recording, or a remote recording. We'll talk about the remote recording in a few moments, but it's very strong in the podcast space. And Descript acquired a podcast recording tool called Squadcast a little while ago, and it's actually integrated. And for your license, you get access to both products, which is pretty cool. They're still new and setting up the integration, but we can do that. Let's set up a new video project. And when we do that, it will then allow us to add a file. So we can either record, we can start writing a script, or we can add a file. What I'm going to do is I'm going to import a file that I've already recorded. So I'm going to bring in a video that of one of my webinars, and it's a good long video. It's 33 minutes of content, but it's a sort of content that I want to be able to edit inside of Descript. Depending on how long your content is, it'll take Descript anywhere from a few minutes to maybe 10, 15 minutes to transcribe the content and prepare us to be able to edit the content in the Descript editor. Now, once it's done, the transcription will appear here in the left panel. In the center panel, we have our video preview, and in the right panel, we have the properties for the content that we've created. Now, down here along the bottom, we have something which should look familiar. This is a timeline editor, which is similar to other video editing applications, and we can actually see the waveform of the audio there as well. Now, let's start looking at the differences between Descript and other forms of media editors. So the first thing is I'm just going to play the video so you can see, because Descript will now give us a different type of feedback, an entirely different feel of feedback as we play and start to edit our video. So I'm just going to hit the space bar, which will hit play. I am so happy that you are here with us today. Okay. We have so much to see. What's happening here is we're getting some really interesting things happening. First of all, as I'm speaking, the cursor is almost like in a karaoke machine, is highlighting the active word as I speak. And there, it's done here, so you can see exactly where you are in the script. But also down here in the timeline, we also have the transcript appearing here. So matching the waveform and matching the video position, the text is being displayed to us here as well. So when we hit play again, we can see that we can read it as well as hear it in multiple places. Now we've got a couple of different ways to actually start to edit the video. So let's first of all talk about the structure of media inside of Descript so that we can edit it, so that we can start modifying it. Now, typically speaking, in a normal video editing package, or audio editing package for that matter, we have clips. We have the different individual clips that compose the entire project, and then we assemble those clips in order linearly, and then we jump from clip to clip, and we do transitions between, and etc. as we build our content. Inside of Descript, they don't call them clips, but instead they call them scenes. And down here, right now we just have one big scene because the entire video is one scene. but I can start to break it into smaller pieces so that I can apply different properties to each clip by either going down in the bottom, and this would be very similar to a video editing package saying add a scene at playhead, and that basically splits the scene. It will split the video content from here moving on. Or I can also go up into here and I can just put my cursor in and I can do a split here just by adding the split there, and it puts a little forward slash in. And if we see here, that's created a new scene here. So we now have the second scene, and down below here, it also split the video here. So we could actually, if we wanted to edit this down and shorten it, so I can actually edit the video. I can shorten the video just by clicking and grabbing here in the timeline and dragging one way or the other, so I can actually shorten down what's happening in the video. So I can interactively edit inside of the timeline the way I normally would, but the way I normally would in a normal video editor. That's always an option, but typically speaking, I think you're going to use those sorts of editing features where you visually edit the clip, the actual physical clip, on SOC stuff, on content which has no spoken words, because inside of this area here, we can actually edit as if we were in a word processor. So if I wanted to take this sentence out, I can just highlight it here, hit delete, and it removes the sentence and it removes the video clip that corresponds. This really does work like a word processor. If I wanted to take this sentence, today I want to be sure that I share with you, if I want to make that the very first sentence, I can cut that. I can take it up to the top, put my insertion point in, paste it, and now we've actually moved that video clip. So if we play it now, today I want to make sure that I share with you and that you leave today's webinar with a real comprehension and understanding of what an online business looks like. I am so happy that you are here with us today. So if we put it back the other way, now it'll start with I'm so happy that day, so you can actually move pieces around. Now this in video, it could be fraught with a little bit of continuity challenges, but if you're editing a podcast, being able to move the copy, move the text around like this is just straight up brilliant. Now, this is Descript to me is a stealth package to a certain extent. There's not a lot happening on the screen. You don't see a lot of controls. You don't see a lot of tools. So you might be lulled into a sense that not much is happening inside of Descript, but that is not the case. If we go here under the actions menu, right at the top, we're going to find just a plethora of different things that we can do, which will improve and help us package and create our content. So if we go through, we can add a new layer, which I'll talk about in a moment. It's a multi-track editor. So layers means that we can put things like titles, or we can have a green screen effect with a background behind. So we can have multiple video layers as you would in a normal multi-track video editor. So we have those layers, but that's standard in de rigueur in almost any video editing package. But look at this is remove filler words. This is where some of the AI and the intelligence of Descript comes in. All of us use filler words. You can see here, you can see that I've got a couple of times here inside of it, and I do it a lot. I stutter a lot as I create my content. So we can ask it here to remove the filler words, and it will then go through and see it's highlighting them for us. It's showing them where they are here, and it found 121 in the 30 minutes. So now let's have a listen first before we do it. Let's go. I am so happy that you are here with us today. We have so much to cover. Let's just dive into things. Our online business blueprint, but the framework. Okay, let's remove all. And it does it lightning fast. Did you see how quickly it went through 30 minutes of video? Now let's listen again. Our online business blueprint. What the framework, what the different pieces of an online perfect,
business
but it's still
I want you to understand.
Better than having them in there. So you see here that it'll remove the different filler words and the different pauses. Now it also will, if we look at in the actions, it will shorten the word gaps. That's great if you are the sort of person who's creating content. You're going to pause and think about what you're going to say, and then you go on, or you have a hesitation. You can ask it to shorten the different word gaps by down to 1 second or less, or 3 seconds or more. So you can have it shorten down any gaps, which again is going to tighten things up. Again, something very useful, especially if you're doing podcasting, just basically tightening up the content so that you have a better flow. Under this action menu, we will see so many other different features as well. under the Ask AI feature. I haven't talked to you yet about the real AI that's built in to Descript. I really want to look at it more as an editing package. But inside of the AI side, you can ask it to go through and summarize the content of any video or podcast that you're creating, create a blog post. You can use this while you are writing your script. If you're writing your script before, because we have this write feature where you can actually go in and you can write the script and then you can record from this script and then you can edit. It changes the workflow of how we create content. I think it, for some of us, quite profoundly. If I want to create a YouTube description, if this was going to be a YouTube video, I can ask it to create a YouTube description. And I say, return, draft a YouTube description for this. I don't know how long it'll take. It's a pretty long document. And here it did it. Actually, oh, wow. I'm impressed. I hadn't looked at this before. In this enriching webinar, we dive deep into the comprehensive framework of online business, catering specifically to individuals age 50 and above. So it's actually finding all of the details of what I've included here. And this is what I love here. Down below, it's got timestamps of the important points inside of the video. This is incredibly valuable. This is useful. This is content which we can use, and it adds to the value of the content that we create. Really nicely done. All of those features are built in as well. This, as I say, still waters run deep. You don't see a lot happening here, but just looking under this one menu, you find a lot of different features. Now, let's talk briefly about the different speaker options we have. Now, since I just have a single speaker in this, it's just identifying one. But if you have multiple different people speaking, you can identify those individuals and it'll parse out their dialogue. But you can add speakers. Now, they've got pre-recorded voices. If you want to write some text and use a artificially generated voice for a voiceover or something like that, you can do that. I'm not such a big fan of that feature, but instead, I'm going to show you how it recognizes us and learns about us and allows us to edit in a slightly different way. So this is me. Obviously, I'm speaking at this point here. And when you set this up, you can enable something called overdub. Now, overdub will take anything that you say. If you highlight it in here, what I want to do is I want to actually take this. We are all in the same age demographic, and I want to change that. I want to change that to we are all over 50. So I'm going to highlight this range of text here, and then I get to replace it. If I choose replace, I can choose overdub. Now, overdub, we are all the same age, and I can ask it to overdub. Now, it's going to highlight it here, and then it goes through a bit of a process. Now, over time, you will train it what your voice sounds like, or what the voice of this narrator sounds like. And I've just started doing it with mine, so it's probably not going to do a fantastic job of it. But as we go through, we are the same age. We're all north of. Let's have a listen again. We all in this webinar today are the same age. We're all north of the age of 50. Now, of course, the video is not going to match up, but that, if you were listening to a podcast, that would be fine. You wouldn't even have really thought anything at all about that. And this is just with very simple, the most basic training of what my voice sounds like. Over time, you can really build a good voice model of yourself, and it will match up more and more closely. Okay, let's keep moving along. Now, along the top, we have some other tools available to us. And those tools include the ability to import new media, to actually record a new track ourselves, to import text, or to create text overlays, shapes, and then this is a template where if you happen to have video templates available to you. I'm just going to look at a few of these right now, but the first one is media. Included, if you buy a paid subscription to Descript, is a large assortment of clip media that you can use as backgrounds, as foregrounds. You've got a whole series of GIFs that you can add if you want to. So if I want to include this in my video, I can just bring it in, and you see here that we have it, and it'll appear here as another layer. Now we've got 2 layers of video inside of our timeline, and you can scale it, and you can see here we have it layered here as well, so that if we're playing it back, we can. So let's include something like that as an overlay. So you can bring other media clips in, and you can either put them in line, linear, and transition from one to the other as you would in a traditional video, or you can have them in layers. And we have various controls for controlling the media. It's a pretty, again, this is what you would expect to find in a video editing package or an audio editing package for that matter. Similarly, we can choose to record directly in. And if we choose to record directly in, we can record audio, we can record with the camera as we would normally inside of any, say, screencasting package, or you can also record the screen. It's not screencasting though. It's another thing that it's not a Camtasia. It doesn't record both screen and camera at the same time. But if you want to do a voiceover of a piece of software or of a screen that you're looking at, you can craft it that way should you choose to. You can also import shapes or create shapes. And those shapes, if we go over into the properties panel, you can do things like adding a colored background, a colored fill if you want, etc. So that's, again, the sort of thing that you'd expect to find in a video editing package. Now it gets exciting again, though. In the text area, we can add things like titles. So you can put in titles and you can add all of the effects. So you can put layers and so you can add the splash screens, etc. But there's also the ability to incorporate captions. I think that Descript does an absolutely brilliant job of captions. If you just turn on the captions, it will then start putting in just so that we can talk about the types of online business. Because I know a lot of you have so this is where I think it really starts to give us new options and new ways of look at packaging our content. So let's say that this was a YouTube video that I was creating, but I want to create a series of promo pieces for Instagram or for Facebook or for TikTok. And for those, I want to have captions included. It's so easy now to create closed captions that you can then create. You can then just export that section of the video and you've got a really nice closed captioning embedded in, and you've got total control over it. And this is under the style menu, we can choose either clean, which is what it is here. We can choose classic, which is going to show it a kind of a line at a time. Want to do, and we can choose karaoke, which will be, and it's always important to have context. As you look at a webinar, like similarly to what we see inside of the script. So you've got lots of control over this. Now, when we start thinking about if we're using this tool, I say this tool is different. So we look at using it in a different way for creating our content slightly differently. So I was creating some Facebook ads a little while ago, but I was editing them in Camtasia in a traditional video editing package. And I wanted to add closed captioning to it, or I wanted to add the captions for exporting for it to play back in Facebook and on Instagram. So here's what I did is I took and made a shape. I created a rectangle shape over top of the video. I imported the video after I'd edited it, so it was done to time. Edited it. I know that sounds funny, doesn't it? After it was done to time, I added a background and I filled it with green. There we go. So I basically created a green screen. And then I added closed captions over top of that. And I don't like the karaoke. I like the clean style. Let's go to clean. And then I, like today, played this back, having an image in your mind. So what I did then was I took this, I exported it as a video with the green screen in the background. Then I imported it into my other video editing package. I'd already edited the video for length. I just wanted the captions over top. So once I edited it for length, I was then able to import this, and I basically used the exact same video. I exported the video, so the timing and the sync was perfect. I then just laid this over top of the existing video, made the green screen transparent, and I had a really nice job of creating captions that I could change the size of and change the position of, created inside of Camtasia, inside of a traditional video editing package without going outside. I obviously went outside, but I was able to finish it off inside of Camtasia. So that to me was a really creative way to solve a problem and give me new options in the content that I was creating. A tool like Descript allows us to look at the media that we create in a different way because of the process that we go through to get there. For the next feature, I'm going to show you, I'm going to start with a brand new project. I'm going to start from scratch because although this is a fairly cool technology in of itself, I think looking at what they're doing with what I'm about to show you gives you an idea of where we are going with the AI integration into a tool like Descript. So I'm going to start a new recording. Instead of importing video, I'm going to start a recording myself just using my video camera here and I'm going to record it into a script. Now, an interesting thing happens. It will actually record what I'm saying, and it'll transcribe it on the fly. But I'm going to record a script that I've written. So I'm actually going to move over, and I've got a word processing document with it. Now, one of the challenges we have, if you're reading from a script, is eyeline. How do you, if you don't have a teleprompter, how do you make sure that you're looking into the camera unless you memorize the script? And it takes a lot of time to memorize the script. And at my age, I'm not nowhere near as good at memorizing things as I used to be. So if I've got to be on point, if I've got to actually be word perfect on a script, I have to go through some machinations. I have to spend time memorizing, and I've got to do multiple takes, and it takes me a little bit longer than I would like to create the content. Plus, I end up frustrating myself. Watch what's going to happen. I'm going to record it's counting down now. I'm going to record this script here, but I'm going to look at it on screen. And then I'm going to use the AI tools built into Descript to adjust my eyeline so that it looks like I'm looking at the camera the whole time. So we're going to say, AI is generating a lot of excitement and curiosity. You might be wondering about the buzz and its significance. It seems like everyone claims to have insights on how AI will revolutionize our lives. So you see here, I've been looking down at the screen the whole time. So let's stop the recording now. Go back into Descript. And what I'm going to do is, let's just have a look at it first. So we're going to say, AI is generating a lot of excitement and curiosity. You might be wondering about the buzz, and that wouldn't work very well, would it? So I'm going to select that scene here. I'm going to select the text, and I'm going to go into this Effects Properties panel, and I'm going to choose Eye Contact. And then it tells me it's applying it to this. It'll take a few minutes. It takes a few seconds for it to do because it's got to process it. So what it's doing now is it's pulling the video, I guess, onto some server somewhere, and it's analyzing the video. It's identifying the pupils of my eyes, and it's identifying where they're focused. And it's going through some sort of algorithmic magic, and it is going to reposition my eyes so that it looks like, even though I'm looking down, at this point here, it looks like I'm looking at the camera. At least I hope that's what it's going to do. Let's see how good a job it does. And I got to say, even before we look at it, even if it does just a so-so job, the fact that they're willing to take this on, and this is the first version of this, is really exciting as far as what we can do to modify video in a creative way to make it more usable, and not just making the video more usable, but it changes the production process for us. The tools that are built into Descript allow us to look at projects that we're going to create and find a better path to the final result. More effective, higher quality, faster. It allows us to do all those sorts of things. So let's see how long this takes, and then let's have a look. Okay, it's done. Let's see if it works. So we're going to say, AI is generating a lot of excitement and curiosity. You might be wondering about the buzz and its significance. Holy cow. That's not bad. Now, the fact that we're looking at it, it's like we're thinking about it, so it feels a little bit unnatural, but it seems like everyone claims to have insights. That's the AI generated. But earlier on, I was looking at this script here, but I'm going to I'm looking at it now, it on screen. And then I'm going to use the AI tools built into Descript to adjust my eyeline so that it looks like I'm looking at the camera. That's me naturally looking at it. So we're going to say, this is where we apply the filter. AI is generating a lot of excitement and curiosity. You might be wondering about the buzz and its significance. It seems like everyone claims to have insights on how AI will revolutionize. That's just crazy. Now, when we create content today, we often want to repurpose that content into multiple different platforms. For example, a YouTube video that this might be, we want to be able to create some small snippets that we are going to create Instagram posts with, that sort of stuff. So the way that they've got the file system and the management system set up inside of Descript allows you to do things like take this entire project, copy all the text, and go in here and ask it to duplicate it to a new composition. So we can have multiple compositions of the same source material so that we can output it in different ways, say outputting in different formats, creating one that's going to be vertical format for Instagram, another one that's square for Facebook, and then the widescreen one that's going to be for YouTube. And then we can edit, and we can do unique edits for each one. So that gives you, again, an idea of some of the flexibility and the way that we can approach using a tool like Descript. Let's say you're creating a podcast. And so what you can do is you can record your podcast stream of consciousness, just like I did, just like in a video or in audio like this. Then you can ask AI if you want to go through and to improve and rewrite the script. You then set it forward doing that. It'll then go through your script and it'll offer some suggestions and clean it up. You can decide whether or not you like it or not once it's done that. But then you could use this again and you could re-record it with the improved script, or you can edit it, and we can choose the writing tool here, which will allow you to edit it just like a word processor. Then you can edit it and then you can re-record it. That to me creates an entirely new workflow, which is quite appealing, especially for creating things like podcasts. So you don't actually have to write everything out, but instead you can narrate it, use AI to help you clean it up and edit it and create a little more structure, and then re-record it for your final output and then edit it inside of Descript. That's a very cool workflow. The last thing I want to show you is I mentioned right off the top that they have included the ability to be able to do remote recording. So when we go back to the desktop or the projects file, we create new. Remember how I mentioned that they have the beta remote recording? That's using the tool Squadcast. So I can go over into Squadcast, and this will allow us to do a double-ended recording. So to have a guest on, and we can record either video or video and audio. It will pull all of it in, and then it will integrate directly with Descript. Now, a tool like Squadcast, these recording tools are, I think, really intelligently created tools. When you do if you were to just connect with somebody in FaceTime or with Zoom and do a recording with a guest that you want to use in a podcast, because of the high-speed internet that we have access to, the quality is going to be pretty good, but it's not going to be like you're in a studio together. You're not going to get basically broadcast quality out of that. It'll be probably usable, but it's not going to be fantastic quality. Squadcast does it differently. What happens when you set somebody up with Squadcast is you share a link with the person who you're interviewing, and then what happens is Squadcast then records each side of the conversation on the local computer in high fidelity, in high definition. So it's going to record a high quality recording at that point, and at the same time it's going to create a lower quality recording that you can hear, so you're going back and forth as you're having the conversation, as you're doing the interview. Once you've completed the interview, and you finish the session, it will then it will compress the high quality video file from both sides, pull them together, and bring them together to you in an editing room, which you can then edit inside of Descript. So you're going to be able to create a much higher quality recording, closer to what we would call broadcast quality, using this tool. Now, typically speaking, other tools like Riverside.fm do this sort of stuff. And you'll spend $19 or $29 or $39 a month for these packages. Squadcast is included in Descript, which again opens up all sorts of new options for you for creating and editing and producing your own podcasts. I started things off today talking about how I think that Descript is changing the way that we edit. Now, it might not change traditional video editing, but for the type of dynamic content that we are wanting to create more and more of, especially with the advent of AI and how AI is impacting our trust in our affinity for text-based content sharing, the more video, the more audio that we can create and share, I think it really behooves us to create as much of that sort of content for our communities as possible. Descript gives us a whole new way of looking at the creation of that content, and we are going to develop our own systems for creating that content. I'm just now at the beginning of different ideas percolating away of ways to leverage the content that I want to create using Descript to help me with that. So that's a look at it. I hope that you've gotten as much out of it as I just. This is one of those tools that I just keep poking around with and giggling occasionally. Let's get to the Q&A.